All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tackle and Tacos, a fishing podcast. This is episode 90 and some change. We're gonna
90
call it 90
something.
and some change, 90
Yeah,
something. We've got we've got a good episode coming up here for sure. It's still crazy to think episode 90 something. We're creeping up on 100 already.
that is
Like
weird. Yeah, it's super weird.
that's absolutely wild.
I remember.
Yeah,
I feel like it wasn't that long ago. You and me and Lola, and then the homie Kurt from Working Class Bow Hunter, were spitballing name ideas back and forth. And I remember the first one. I don't even actually remember what it is. I'm not just like skirting. I remember the first one I brought to Kurt. He's like, "That's terrible." And then we almost called it, the Figure Out Fishing podcast. But I never really
yeah,
liked that because it just felt sort of presumptuous. Like, come listen to us and you'll figure out fishing, which wasn't the angle. But and then yeah, and that was 90 something plus episodes ago. That's wild.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy to think. I remember like we were talking about this, trying to figure it out, working on it, and we halfway recorded like the very first episode in your living room
Oh
in Fort
yeah,
Byron when you were living in
yeah.
when you're still here in
Forgot
Illinois.
about
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, that was
And then
wild. It
to
seems like
now, and not that we're pros now, but how many episodes have we messed up the audio or goofed up the video, or like
yeah,
the Luke Duncan episode where like the audio got off and I had to go in and like edit the audio from. If anybody cares, we use a streaming service called StreamYard. It's what tons of people, Hellabass, Bass Talk Live, a lot of people use for video podcasting with guests because we ain't got that Joe Rogan budget where we can fly everybody in and all that kind of stuff. So we
right.
video talk with them, And on StreamYard, you can record your audio through StreamYard, and it's okay. It's not terrible. It's not great. And then we also have like a soundboard. Maybe I can hold on. We're on video too. Let me try and tip the video down.
Here we go. Vanna White in it.
There you can
Oh,
kind of
nice.
see the soundboard
Yeah,
there. And what happens is the audio on the soundboard is way better than the audio straight through StreamYard, which is fine, right? No big whoop. But one time when we recorded with Luke Duncan, it was like right like the night before or something. We were getting ready to launch. We didn't have any episodes in the can. And for anything, you can pick like, where's my audio coming from? And I accidentally on StreamYard picked the audio to come through the built-in microphone on my laptop. So it kind of sounded like this the whole episode. Like everything was super echoey, and Luke sounded like this the whole time. He's like, "Oh yeah, low budget live and all that stuff." And I had to go in, and every time on the video that one of us spoke, I had to take the audio off the soundboard and splice it in like manually because it didn't link up. Maybe nobody
golly.
cares, but like we've come a long way since then. We're not pros, but we don't mess around on that garbage level anymore. So like we're working on it. You know what I'm saying?
We are. We're definitely working on it. Working on a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
you said, we've got the website revamp that's going to be coming up with some new
Heck yeah.
merch over
Yeah.
at tackleandtacos.com. Of course, all of our social stuff, Tackle and Tacos, um, Facebook, Instagram. I guess that's really about all we mess with. So
Yeah. We won't be on
check
that
that
tiki
stuff
talkers.
out. Yeah, no, I feel like you're right there on the border of
I mean,
getting on
I'm
one,
always down to sing and
right?
dance and make a
Yeah,
fool of
yeah,
myself. There's no issues there. I
exactly.
have zero pride in a icky pride way, but it's just it's so much, man. Like I remember when I was working for a different job doing marketing, and a big part of that marketing was social media stuff. Like I remember finding out like there was a company in Wisconsin. I won't say who it is, and they're not even like a big like online presence company, but they're working towards being that, and they were paying this guy that I know $75,000 a year to be their social media manager. And he spent 20 hours a week at this place and made 75 grand a year. And I remember being like, dude, that's not a real job. Social media,
Right.
that's not a real job. But now you like take a step forward or backward, however you want to look at it, 2025, like social media is this giant free platform to advertise, and it's constant. There
Yeah.
is no 9 to 5. There is no like, just post around. You'll figure it out because now there's all these algorithms and times and like stories and monetizing and blah blah. It's work, dude. It's a lot of work, man. Like it takes a lot to stay on that kind of that social stuff.
Yeah, that's no doubt. And you definitely kill it for us. You do a heck of a job. But man, you did an awesome job too setting up this episode. We got a really good one.
Yeah,
Uh
man.
And man, I'm ready for it. I think
Yeah.
man, I'm excited. This is gonna be
Yeah.
fun. So why
Yeah.
don't you hit us with the pros, the sponsors, all the
Yeah.
people
For
that
sure.
make this possible for us.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll just talk through the sponsors quickly, and then we'll bring in the homie Hunter. Hunter, I can see you in the background. Is it Bowman or Baughman? Bowman. Yeah. Did I
Bowman, Bogman.
He's shaking his head. We'll have him pronounce it right for us. We're so stupid. We're so we're just talking about how we're learning, and we're so unprofessional. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but Hunter is here. Hunter is an absolute stick. NPFL pro. Want to stop on the MLF. Was it the Tackle Warehouse Opens? Is that what it was called at that point? I mean, just a
Toyota
hammer.
series, I think it
Toyota
was.
series, right.
Yeah,
Yep, thank you. I feel like the names change. I'm ready to call it the Red Man. You know what I'm saying? Like take it way back, dude. You know, like I
might
get
as
all the
well.
series all goofed up in my brain. Or like what was the elites before the top 120? What they
Top
call them?
top 150, I think it was. Yeah,
150. Yeah, I always get it. Like
yeah,
they just shift names and who's in what league and arena and vibe and whatever. But all I know is the dude's a hammer and can fish. And
no doubt.
I got his contact from Luke Duncan actually, and it's been cool talking to him. So I'm really pumped to have him on. And so this episode, like every single episode, is proudly presented by Grizzly Coolers. And the thing is that I kind of want to emphasize for anybody who's listening or watching this, Grizzly Coolers is so much more than that. So much more than just coolers. They're drink stuff, like we've talked about before. Like Nate said, the little like thing, the like this drinking. What do you call this? Water tub,
Yeah, I think they call it
a water jug. Like the top screws
Yeah,
on. It's not humongous, so you won't spill it all over yourself, even if you're running down the lake, which I've done, running down the lake. And then the top actually clicks, so it can't move. Like when you're doing stuff, it's got that little hook on the side. It's got this rubberized coating. Everything they make is just really well thought through. It's like very intentional. The sizes, the colors are dope. From drinking stuff like this to the really dope bags, the big coolers, the even their apparel is really fresh. And with the code Working Class Bow Hunter WCB, you get 15% off your entire order, which is a chunk, you know, and they make dope
yeah.
stuff. So grizzlycoolers.com is our presenting sponsor. WCB gets you 15% off. Also, Giltech and Hook and Arrow Supply Co. up in Wickamanakananiki, Wisconsin, with the homie Brian making some of the absolute best swim jigs, Ned heads. Everything that he puts out is nothing but like sort of like Grizzly, like tons of thought beforehand. It's not just, oh, this will be an okay swim jig. Like researched, redone, revamped, 3D printed, CAD drawing. Like he was telling me the other day how much he has to pay every time he makes a mold to have it actually stamped for the different sizes, and it's significant. The dude puts a ton of work, a ton of money, a ton of effort into it, and you can only get the Giltech stuff right now at my hoodie, hookandarrowsupplyco.com, hookandarrowsupply.com. Just some incredible stuff, and like support a small business, you know, support a dude who fishes his butt off, a guy who revamped a John boat with a jet ski motor. Excuse me. That was professional. Just so you can get up more shallow to chase some small jaws. You got to love that. And then our last sponsor is, of course, let's see, Loophole Optics. We're a part of their polarized sunglasses team, but everything they make, like these binos, are absolutely next level. Again, like Grizzly, like Giltech, just thought through. There's a sunglasses box, and even that, it's funny, like who cares about the box, but like even their boxes are well thought out and planned out and solid and made well. And that's loopold.com. So yes, Loopold as in Leupold. The dudes who've been making scopes and rangefinders and spotting scopes and everything else, binoculars for literally 100 plus years on the West Coast over in Oregon. So obviously when they came out with sunglasses, you knew with all that history of killing it in the binocular range finding, spotting scope, all that stuff, optic world, they're going to kill it in sunglasses too, and they do. They're freaking dope. They look good,
Absolutely.
they feel good. The polarization is next level. I've talked about this on the show before, but their polarization, which if you're not familiar with that phrase, it's imperative. Honestly, it's imperative for fishermen to wear polarized sunglasses, not just to cut through the water and the glare, which is what polarization does, but it also protects your eyes from the harmful effects of the sun bouncing off the water, and that's no joke. I mean, that's not like a thing you should take lightly. And with Loophole, they actually put their polarization in between layers of the lenses, which means it's never going to wear off. It's never going to rub off. It's never going to scratch off. And so you're protected no matter what. Everybody's seen those sunnies where it looks like it's almost like melting off, like that coating on the outside. It's because that's usually the polarization just kind of being slapped on the outside at the end, which is fine. That's not a huge diss. That's a pretty common practice. But Loophole took it a next step and puts it in between the layers of the lenses so that can't happen, which is, to me, just smart.
Yeah, no, it's genius, and it definitely you can see the quality when you rock them. So
Yeah,
excited to be a
they're
part of
crispy.
them. So
Yeah, they're super crispy.
yeah,
So, all right, let's bring this dude in. I'm so excited to have all the way from Arkansas, the homie Hunter, who I've been trying to talk to for a while now, working on dates, and he's been so cool and so flexible. He has a massive following online. He wins tournaments, and he just seems like a great dude. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Mr. Hunter. Hunter, how do we say your last name?
Baughman.
Baughman? Is that really it?
I think Nate may have said it, but I was
He
already shaking my
did.
head no to something else when he said it. So
I think I
Dang,
got it right. Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
yeah,
So
it's funny too, because
that's
like
it.
I was gonna ask you like in our little pre-show meeting, like, and then I just totally spaced it, and I was like, dang it. And then I started talking. We're already recording, and I don't want to have to go back and edit. So I'm like, I'll just fall on my sword and look like an idiot. But Mr. Hunter Baughman, thank you for being here, dude. I appreciate you.
Man, thank y'all so much. I'm tickled to be on for sure.
Well, thank you, man, for sure. So,
yeah, we
Hunter,
appreciate it.
where are you coming to us from right now?
Judsonia, Arkansas, which is a little bitty town that nobody knows where it's at. But Searcy,
Yeah.
Arkansas. A lot of people know where Searcy is, or at
Okay.
least some people. About 60 miles northeast of Little Rock.
Oh, okay. Right on. That's what's up. And you're from there your whole life?
Yeah.
Yeah, within a say 30-mile circle here my whole life.
Okay, dope, man.
Does
so
that put you in like boat building country? Are you right around that area where
Yeah,
all the boat manufacturers
I'm
are at? Or?
borderline. Yeah, I'm about 2.5 hours from most of the boat building. Like the mountain home area is 2.5 hours from me.
Right, gotcha.
And then there's some, there's this massive aluminum boat building in, about an hour south of me, that Hot Springs, Monticello area, Sea Arc boats, Express boats. There are a lot of aluminum boats come from South Arkansas. But what you're talking about, all the glass boats, that's all that mountain home area north. I'm kind of central. I'm just a little bit east of central, but I'm still central Arkansas.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, why is that? Do you know, Hunter? Why is there so many fiberglass boats from Arkansas?
Man, I think some of my history may be way off, but I think some of the first glass boats made was from that area. And that's just what those people up there have learned and know how to do and are so good at for generations. Yeah. They've built boats. So they're just, what better way to get the best in the nation than to build more boats where they live,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
always wondered that. I wasn't sure. No, I think you probably are. Yeah, I think you probably are. I mean, if they've been doing it there and doing it well for so long, like why take it somewhere else? Because there are other places, Tennessee and some other spots, but Arkansas is definitely like the fiberglass mecca for sure. But so like I said, Hunter, thank you so much for jumping on, man. So if you would take as short or as long as you want, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Mostly, how'd you get bit by the fishing bug? Like what made you, really jump off into the fishing world? And while you're in that topic, I kind of want to know two big things, if you can remember it while you're talking, which is how'd you first get into tournament fishing? And I want to know before that, like even as a kid, like what got you again bit by the bug? And then beyond tournament fishing, the second thing is, when did the sort of like moment, the aha moment happen? Like, dude, I could do this for like, I could be a professional at this. You know what I'm saying? Because like I can drive a car, but I'm not NASCAR. You know what I'm saying? I can throw a football. You know what I mean? But I'm not Jalen Hurts or what, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a line there, and I just wonder how that happened for you. So take as long as you want, man. We want to hear a little bit of your story if you would.
man, this will be year 5 in the NPFL. I'm still like, I think I can be a professional angler. I hope it works out. But but at this point maybe. But no, so born and raised in the outdoors. My mom and dad both hunt. I'm like diehard deer hunter. I'm in a room full of deer right now. But
awesome.
Diehard hunter. Love the fish. But my family, they just like if you caught it, you ate it. Period. I mean, that's just what you did. It didn't matter what crappie, bass, catfish. They were there to catch dinner. And I mean, I don't remember the first time I hunted. I don't remember the first time I fished. That's all I've ever known. And I assume if I never got in tournament fishing, like I would have always fished, and I still, hunt. And, but I guess I was a teenager, so we can go into this a little bit more later. I know you talked about it a little bit before we started, but I'm a bilateral amputee, which means I'm missing both legs below the knee, and I'm missing most of my fingers. And anyway, I'm super competitive. Like if we play tic-tac-toe, I want to win really bad. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
And I was not competitive in other sports through school because of my disability. Or not. I mean, I wore artificial legs for a long time. I played soccer. I played basketball, but I wasn't very good. But I wasn't good enough for that competitive itch, And I really don't know where the tournament it's not like I grew up. I mean, I grew up watching Bill dance and stuff, but it wasn't like every weekend I was watching Bassmasters. It wasn't like that. But somewhere along the lines, I'm like, oh, tournaments, that would be cool, And we had this thing in Arkansas called the Big Bass Bonanza for years and years, like 20 years. It was on the Arkansas River, and it was the entire length of the river from Fort Smith to Dumas. And it's like 300 miles of river. And it was a big bass tournament. And somehow or another, I decided I wanted to fish it. And we had a family friend. I was like, I wasn't driving 12, 13, 14. I don't know. I was fairly young.
Mm-hmm.
We had a family friend that was in boat manufacturing, actually. And somehow I reached out through a connection through my grandparents or my parents. And it's like, hey, all we had was I guess a 1436 flat bottom with an 8-horse. Like that's all I ever fished in my whole life. And I reached out to this dude. And I'm like, hey, I really want to fish this tournament. Would you sponsor my dad and I a boat so we could fish it? Because the 8-horse ain't gonna cut it running back and forth away. It really would have. But so this dude's like, yeah, I got a boat you can use for the weekend. Like I thought it was so easy. It was the easiest sponsor I've ever got. But anyway,
that's awesome.
It was a 3-day tournament, so like he let us pick it up on Thursday and turn back in on Monday. I loved it. Like we made exactly $0, and I loved it though. I mean, I had it's like competition, adding something that my whole life and family is built around the outdoors, and adding the competition aspect to it. And fishing was something we did a lot of crappie fishing up till then. It was something that I wasn't like the best in the world, but I was pretty good. Like if there were 3 guys in a boat, I could hang, period.
Yeah.
My disabilities didn't slow me down. Like I was pretty decent at it. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do this and be competitive. And I kind of, not a whole lot more happened until I was old enough to drive. I actually had a little 17-foot aluminum bass boat that my parents helped me get before I had a truck. So I was having to like call buddies and be like, hey, come get me my boat. But once I started driving, started fishing some team tournaments, man, like my cousin and I, we still are team partners, and we fished together since we're same age, like 16 or 17. And I mean, just got our teeth kicked in for like 3 or 4 years. Like it was the most depressing thing ever.
Yeah.
And like everywhere we went, it's like, oh, this can't be that hard. I remember going to Lake Hamilton in Hot Springs, and it was a lake. My family had a condo on that lake. Like that was the lake I had the most experience fishing. And because we'd go in the summers and stay when we weren't in school. I remember being like, oh, I'm gonna fish this tournament on this lake. It'll be easy because I know this lake. And like we go catch 8 pounds in 5, and I'm like, oh, this is about what we normally catch. And dude had 18 with 2 5-pounders. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. This is for me.
Dang.
But
that's honest.
But man, I loved it. you know, and it's like, man, and it just kind of kept growing on me. I didn't really know, like, yeah, it'd been really cool to be a pro, but I didn't know, you know, all the way I graduated high school and I was in college, and like, it snowballed really quick. Like all of a sudden I started doing pretty good. So the first, I'm trying not to burn your whole podcast up on this story.
No, go, dude.
But
This is awesome.
This is it. Yeah.
It's kind of cool. The Big Bass Bonanza, the first money we ever made, my cousin and I went, and he actually caught the fish. Of course, it's, you know, it's a big bass, so whoever catches it. But we fished it like as a team. We were splitting the money. He caught the biggest one in that pool for the whole weekend. It was $4,500, and
Dang.
I was like, you know, we're 19, and we're like, oh wow, this is phenomenal. You know,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money. You know, to somebody that had
No
never
doubt.
made any money. Like a month later, we won a championship and won like $1,000 or $1,500. Actually, like Hamilton, and
Okay. Huh.
from there it just kind of snowballed. Like at that point, I had 2 or 3, 4 years in of, and I never fished. I fished one tournament in my life as a co-angler, so I didn't fish as a co-angler. Had a couple guys. My dad took me fishing a ton, and he caught fish on bass lures, but he was never a bass guy. You know, like I didn't have a whole lot of teaching on here's what you need to do to catch bass.
Sure.
But so it just kind of, at that point, I'd started learning what I was doing, and slowly just got better and a little more consistent, Now I saved up some money from winning and fished. You're talking about all the different names. Back then, it was like the Everstarts. It was like Everstarts, the Toyotas now.
Yeah.
Back then, but fished a couple of those and didn't do any good. And it took me like another year or two of fishing local tournaments to make the money to go fish them again. Then, like, I made checks in 2 out of 3 that time when I fished them. And, you know, that's a regional level. It's like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. And it really, I didn't realize how it was built. And I had some sponsors, but they were like family and close family friends that hand you $100 a month. So just enough to put gas in your boat.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right.
But, you know, and I was like, man, this is, at some point, I was like, I really, really want to do this. I met my wife in 11, so I'd have been.
But you better be sure on that one.
20, yeah. I met her in 11. I'm trying to think how old I've been, 25, 26.
Okay.
And I knew, like, at that point, I don't really know when I knew, but at that point, I was like, look, I want to do this. I don't know if it'll ever happen. Like, you know, I wasn't just doing it, I was working, but I want to do this. So just FYI, if you're going to stick around, I'm going to fish a lot.
Yeah.
When
I'm
I'm
bass
home,
head,
I'm
so.
going to deer hunt. Yeah. And when I'm home, I'm going to hunt. I mean, it's just how it is. But
and how was she with that?
It just kind of grew from there. And do what?
How was your now wife with that conversation? Was she cool with it?
Man, she was like, and my father-in-law actually tournament fished the same stuff I did, but I didn't know him. Like, we kind of knew who each other was. We didn't know each other. And she was like, oh, my dad hunts and fishes all the time. It'll be fine. And I'm like, yeah, probably not as much as me. And there was a point. Somebody the other day, there was a point, and she was like, I'm really, the only day I have free is on the weekends, and you've got a tournament every weekend. And I mean, she's awesome. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But I remember looking at her and going, look, if that's a problem, let's just call it quits. Because, like, this ain't going to change. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm not changing my lifestyle. Like, we can make a lifestyle, but I'm not going to change it for someone. I made that very clear, you know, in the past. And like, and she was like, okay. And we just kind of made it work from there. And of course, you make sacrifices, but I started building some local, just small sponsors, but stuff that was allowing me to fish, you know, and cover some expenses, and had some pretty good Toyota series. Ironically, the BFLs were like my nemesis forever. I fished like 30 BFLs without check. Like, I had, when I won my Toyota series, I'd still never made a check in the BFL. Like, I don't know why I ever spent my money to go to one. Yeah, they're like, I'm bad luck at the BFL, but for whatever reason, like, I've since then made a couple top 10s, I think, in them. But for like a really long time, I did well in everything I fished except the BFL. Like, they used to have the old ABA weekend series, which was like a BFL,
right?
And like well knit. We have Miss Bass of Arkansas, which is probably tougher than a BFL. It's a draw tournament, and it's like the oldest tournament in Arkansas. Like if you name an Arkansas angler that fishes professionally or has fished professionally in the last 30 years, they fish Mr. Bass.
They've
It's
come
just
through
part of
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won one of those, but I couldn't.
Wow.
I can catch the BFLs. It was weird, but I finally, I was like, man, I really would like to make this go farther, and I couldn't figure out how. And I was building sponsorship, and NPFL in 2020, I saw something on social media they put out. You know how they were accepting anglers, and I thought, well, this is a long shot anyway. But I sent in a deal, and Brad Fuller called me like, I know exactly where I was. And I remember him calling. I'm like, who is this? And I answered, and he was like, hey, this is Brad Fuller, GFL. Want to talk to you a little bit. We've looked at your paperwork. We'd love for you to fish with us, but need to have some conversation, which he's real good about. And man, it just worked out. I reached out to some people that already supported me, and they said, yeah, we can help a little bit. Be completely honest. The first year, my parents said, this is something you've wanted to do a long time. We're going to step up and make sure you get to fish the first year. But, you know, you're going to have, by year 2, you better have it figured out, because we got you for 1 year to get you started.
Wow, that's cool.
And
wow.
That's awesome.
And I was able to add some stuff, you know, from there and build some sponsorship through that first year. It was really cool. The first, man, I was a nervous wreck. I'd never fished a professional level tournament, paying $5,000 to be there, and we were Fall in Alabama, first NPFL. And I had a miserable practice. And like the last 3 hours of the last day of practice, I figured it out. And I mean, like I'd had 23 pounds without trying that day. Like I was trying to not catch them, and I'd had that.
Sure, yeah.
And we go to the meeting, and like they've got, at that time they run like 10 cameras, and they're giving out camera distribution to people. And the dude I was running with, he goes over and tells them that I'm going to catch them. I'm like, dude, are you wanting me to never catch another fish again? Like, he convinced me to
shut up.
Because I'm going to catch them. And I'm like, oh, really? But I did, man. I was in 8th. Now I got a camera again on day 2, and I was like in 11th. And then I didn't have a camera last day, but it was, man, I'm a strong, I have a strong faith. I believe, you know, God steps in at times, and
for sure.
I really had to have some highlights that first year to ever get the backing to continue to do it for the second year. And everybody in the fishing world, is, I'm sure y'all were too, the NPFL, the first tournament of the NPFL, everybody was glued to the live to see what this new tournament series is all about. And I had, you know, live the first 2 days, and that kind of got, you know, my name out there, and people started seeing outside Arkansas who I was, and, you know, just tried to build on it and make it a business from there. And that was a really long explanation, but that's the answer to your question.
Dude, sweet. That was so good. I mean, that was thorough. It was engaging. You ain't got nothing to apologize for. It's about burning up the podcast. That was awesome, man. So let me ask you this though. So when you won your Toyota, that was on Truman, is that right?
It was in Missouri.
Yep, Truman Lake. Not a super well-known lake, but a well-known lake. I think that the people, you know, it's such a like dumb thing to say, but those who know, but like people know that lake. Walk us through a little bit of that win, would you? Because that is incredible, and I mean the Toyota series, that's not like some B-level, you know, fishing trail. Like these dudes are snipers. Walk us through a bit of that win, if you would.
Yeah, so I'd never seen Truman. Like I didn't really even know where Truman was, so I saw it on the schedule. And it's basically, you know, I'm sure y'all know, it feeds Lake of the Ozarks. So anybody that's going to go fish Central Missouri is going to Lake of the Ozarks most of the time. So that's, Truman gets overlooked. But so that year was year 2. Yeah, that was 22. That was year 2 of the NPFL. I realized after the first year of the NPFL, they got Paul Browning, the guy I was running with at the time. We were both like, we don't know what we're doing at a 3-day tournament. Like, we fished 1-day stuff at home, and we're lost. So we were like, we're going to push ourselves for all it's worth, and we're going to fish the NPFL, a division of the Toyota Series, and a division of the ABA Top 150s, which was a 2-day tournament on lakes, and like we'd never been to any of them, you know.
Wow.
And so it was a trying year. It was a lot of time on the water. I remember the first 3 tournaments of the year we went well, I don't remember where we went. We went somewhere for the NPFL and went straight from the NPFL to actually back to Eufaula, Alabama for the ABA 100. Or maybe we went back to anyway. We left the NPFL tournament after a week, and we had like a day of practice for a Toyota. And as soon as we got done to Toyota, we drove as hard as we could drive to have like a half a day of practice at the ABA.
Gosh,
and it was like, gosh, we were in like, I don't know, it was way off. Like one of them was Lake of the Ozarks, one of them was Eufaula, Alabama. I don't remember where the NPFL was, but it wasn't like 2 hours down the road. Like we were getting in the truck and driving like
right.
9 hours.
Golly.
But anyway, we did that to challenge ourselves. You know, it's like, man, we've got to learn how to catch them in a multi-day tournament if we're going to do anything. And it was not a good year. I did not make a check in the NPFL. I did not make a check in the ABAs. My buddy Paul that I was running with actually won one of the ABAs.
Wow.
And then the first 2 Toyotas, I was like, man, I was close. Matter of fact, we fished $1 grand and I hooked a sight fish on the outside of the mouth and had to throw it back, and it cost a check. But anyway,
gosh.
we got to the end of the year and it was like, well, I think we were done, or we had one more NPFL left, and we were Truman, and like I was pretty disgusted, you know, not the year I envisioned. And we got to Truman, didn't know anything about it. I called one buddy and that had been there like one time, and he called him. It was some 2-day tournament. He had won with like 7 fish for 28 pounds or something. I mean, it was pretty good fish, but second had 10 fish and was like 5 pounds behind him. He was like, man, I was fishing brush piles in 5-mile radius of the dam. I mean, that's all he said. Brush piles, 5-mile radius of the dam. So that was kind of like, I was like, well, that's definitely the deal in the fall there, because the fish were much bigger than anything else. So I started looking for that. The first day I fished the bank quite a bit and had a pretty good day, like 14 pounds on practice, first day of practice, but felt really random. I saw 2 brush piles while I was fishing on the graph, and I caught a keeper out of both of them. I'm like, well, that's what I want to do. And the next 2 days, I marked like 100 brush piles, and I was shook like 60 bites. I never hooked one.
Wow.
I didn't even have a hook on. I was like, man, if I can get, like, it was tough. If I can get that many bites, surely I can. I mean, I just needed a check. I was like, surely I can catch a limit a day, 12, 13 pounds. I'll get paid. The year's almost over. At least it's not a complete waste. And the first day of the tournament went about like that. I had 12-something pounds. I was in 20-something place. I mean, just a pretty okay start, you know. And day 2, I don't know what changed, man. Like day 2, I ran the same little rotation. I had 17 pounds and jumped up to 4th and was like 1.25 pounds out. And even when I caught 17, I'm like, man, I didn't think, other than I remember texting my wife when I got back to the truck or to the weigh-in. I'm like, I had a good day. I'm going to make the cut. So I'll be here tomorrow, like, which means I'm getting paid. It's a good week. And
okay.
Then
you didn't even discuss like I could win this thing. You didn't tell your wife like I might be able to win this.
I didn't know it, man. I mean, they had it was like 18, 17, 15, 16, and I'd had 12, you know. So I carry 17 in, and I'm like 1.25 pounds from the lead with a day left. I'm in 4th. And I remember telling her that night, I'm like, honey, I mean, I don't really know what changed today and make them big, but like, I'm in this thing. Like another day like that, and I could scare them. And the next day, I caught 19 pounds. And I remember looking at my calendar. I caught a 4-pounder at like noon, and I had a 2-pounder in the box, and it got hung. It was a brush pile. I didn't know it was there. I saw it on live scope, and I threw in this brush pile. And I mean, sometimes good Lord just, you know, he takes up for stupid people. And it's just one of those deals. You know, I was like, oh, there's a big pile. And I throw in there and immediately it bites. I set the hook and it just wads up in this brush pile and I can't get it out. I go around it like 6 times. Like I spent minutes. And this fish, to the point, wouldn't even move anymore. It was bound up in this pile. And I looked at my code. I was like, man, I already had, 17. It's like, man, that stinks. That felt like a good fish. And I took and turned the trolling motor on and went to break my line. When I did, the limb broke, and a 4-pounder just floats up. Can't even fight. He was so tired.
Oh,
and my code's like, oh my gosh. And we net it. And I remember holding it. He was like, I got to take a picture of the fish. And I hold it up, and I'm like, dude, I think I'm going to win this tournament. Like, that still really hadn't dawned on me at that point. And I put it in live well, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to win this tournament. And yeah, I mean, it was 19 something pounds, man, just meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you agree with that mentality, Hunter? Like Ike always says, when you're supposed to win, you win. Cause that story with that fish in the brush pile kind of feels like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do to an extent. It's God's timing on everything. But I do, to an extent, agree. Man, you got to work really hard. Like, to have a career and have good tournaments, I think hard work goes a long ways.
Sure.
But the wins are so hard. Like, even that Mr. Bass win, I had a 5-pounder on a crankbait in lily pads and got it out. Like, sometimes you can't knock them off with a stick, and sometimes
right.
like they're pegged and coming to you and they just come undone, and you just don't know why. Like fish that should never come off. So it just you can't control that. You can only control what you can control, and that's do your end. Have good equipment, sharp hooks, and do what you're supposed to do when they bite, and hopefully they stay on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congrats on the win. I know we're years late, but man, that's an awesome win. What an awesome story.
It is. I'm looking at a couple of pictures that you posted back then on your Instagram, and a couple of the anglers that were also fishing that tournament were guys like Drew Gill, Trey McKinney, Casey Scanlon. Like those are big names in the tournament scene, and obviously even bigger ones probably were fishing as well. And to triumph over those guys is definitely an accomplishment. So that's awesome.
Man, I didn't even realize Trey McKinney was in there.
He was 9 years old at the time.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Drew Gill, that was the first time I met him. There was a bunch of us went to dinner one night, and I was like, this dude's like, he was so dialed on what he was talking about. That was kind of the beginning when he started making this incredible run. That was like one of the first top 20s or whatever he had. But yeah, there was, man, for sure. It's humbling to look back at that for sure and see the names that were behind me.
Yeah, good for you, man. That's dope. Also, Drew Gill, shout out Drew Gill. We need to have that dude on. Listening to that dude talk about live scope, I don't care how much you dislike live scope or forward facing sonar or want to Randy Block it or whatever. That dude looks at it so intelligently and so out of the box. Drew Gill does. Like he's kind of next level with that stuff. I'm talking like inches of water to deep to perspective to, I mean, he's, you know what I'm saying? He's not just looking at the box. He's really, really intelligent and really intentional with it.
Man, I guess I heard him on Bass Talk Live, and it was like, I was like, oh, it's Drew. I want to listen to this, which we're not like best buddies, but we talk occasionally like on Facebook and stuff. But I was like, dude, this dude just makes me feel stupid. Like
exactly.
He went into on this stuff it's crazy. How dialed in he is.
Sure.
Yeah, I love it. I remember one time I read an article with Gussie talking about moping or Demiki rig or strolling, whatever the heck you want to call it. And he was using Humminbird Mega Live, which how you could even do this on Mega Live, the first one, no disc, but it just wasn't that crisp to me. But he would do this thing where he would hang his jig head minnow, and when he would feel like a bite, if he didn't feel the fish weight, he would let it drop just a little bit as if like a fish ran into it and just stunned the minnow. And he said half the time on that drop, then they would come up and hit it, because in real life, if they bump into a minnow, it kind of stuns them. So he would let it fall as if it was stunned. And I was like, dude, that is so smart. Like that next level imagination, strategic thinking. I'm like, dude, no wonder these people win tournaments. It's just so intentional and thought through, and like I love that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never thought even about doing that, like letting something fall after it's hit like that. That's
But it makes sense though, right? Like there's something logical. Like, I guess that does make sense.
Sure.
You know, if you were a minnow and you got popped by a fish, you'd be like, oh crap. You know, you just sink down, and then they're like, oh, easy meal. You know, like I always joke with my wife when I'm frog fishing, and they see me do this too, but I'll throw a frog smooth up on the bank like 1.5 feet on purpose, and then I'll bring it into the water and I'll like twitch it real fast as if it was like, oh no, I'm in the water, I'm scared. And they're like, oh, you have like a story for your frog? And I'm like, I'm just trying to think if a frog fell out of a reed, or if it, blew off the dock, or I don't know, whatever. And sometimes I think fish key in on that crap. I don't know if it works for the frog, but it definitely worked for Gussie with the jig head minnow.
That's right. Hey, it's all about confidence. It doesn't matter how it goes down, as long as you think it's going to go down.
Yeah, that's exactly right, dude. So can we back up a little bit? So if you're okay with it, I don't want to like way key in on it because I'm way more interested in you as Hunter, like the human being, the angler, than anything. But explain to us a little bit more about, if you're cool with it. You know, you said you had bacterial meningitis when you were a baby, right? And so you just kind of come up your whole life with you know the no legs and the no fingers and so you're like totally adapted to it. Did you ever view that as you were coming up as like a hurdle that needed to be hurdled, or were you just like, this is just who I am, this is how I live, go? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just this is me. I was 9 months old when I got it, so you know, like I don't remember anything before that. I was in the
Sure.
hospital for over 3 months. I think I had
Oh wow.
113-degree fever. Like doctors said, I
What?
wouldn't live if I lived. I'd be a vegetable. Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, I wasn't supposed to make it,
Holy
Golly.
cow.
but I did. Good Lord, some good doctors. I did make it, but
Wow.
yeah. My parents, they they really wouldn't let me have that poor pitiful me outlook at all. Like,
Good parents.
I can't do this. Yeah, you can
Heck
figure it
yeah.
out. Like, you can't do it
Yep.
like everybody else, but you're gonna need to figure it out because we're not gonna cut you slack, you know. And in
I
the end,
love
that
that.
worked out so well because it was just life. Like I tell everybody, like I learned how to do things one way, you learn how to do them another. You know, like if I did them
Hmm.
your way, it'd be really tough. If you did them my way, it would be tough too.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, that's true.
How did you, can I ask specifically, um same mindset, how did you learn how to fish? I mean, you know, because fishing, obviously your hands are imperative, you know, I mean, that's everything. And you have no fingers on your left hand. How'd you figure out how to hold a rod and reel? How'd you figure out how to work a lure? How'd you figure out how to lip a bass? All that stuff.
Man, you know, I don't I don't even remember that. Like I do have my thumb. It's backward looking at the screen. So I got that. So I have a little bit of grip on my right hand, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't like I did it so young. I don't remember. I remember my grandpa talking about he used to fish with my dad and I a lot, and I remember him talking about one time that we got on a bunch of crappie, and I caught him like every throw, and then I finally was like, I'm tired of catching fish. Like I'm just tired. I'm
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
He was like, he's gonna be all right, you know.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
awesome.
really don't remember. Like it's just so I started a little bit different way to answer the question, but I started shooting a compound bow when I was probably 18 or 19. And the same deal there. Like I'd always shot a crossbow because I thought that's what I needed to do. And then I had a guy ask me one day, why don't you shoot a compound? I'm like, oh, you realize I don't have many fingers, right? And he's like, so you do everything else,
What a
don't you?
response.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
he's like, I've got a lady who can help you. We'll figure it out. And I mean, we thought we were going to have some kind of adaptive stuff, and we end up not. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just figured it out, and the only difference is I remember that because I was grown pretty much. Where the
Sure.
other
Yeah.
stuff, I was so young, I didn't even think about figuring it out. You know, I just did it.
Mm. Man, I respect the crap out of that,
Yeah.
man. I mean, really,
Yeah.
really
That's
respect it.
awesome.
I don't know if you ever heard this quote, Hunter, but it's one of my favorites, and it kicks my teeth in every time I hear it, every time I say it. But Benjamin Franklin said, "I never knew a man who was good at making excuses that's good at anything else." And I think for
Uh,
like just men in general, like once we start to, or who was it, Vince Lombardi, who said like once you learn to quit, it becomes a habit. Like we can talk ourselves out of so much stuff and have so many reasons why. And then like I'm not really a cusser much, but then there's somebody like you who's out here like just kicking ass, man. Like not, you know, not coming up with the excuses that you easily could. And you're just out
yeah,
there just mowing folks down, winning derbies, winning big derbies, fishing professionally. Man, I think it's freaking awesome, dude. And you're not like, you're not like screaming from the mountaintops like I'm the first disabled person to win a Toyota. You're like, dude, I want a Toyota. And I think that's so cool, man.
man, that's been something for me. Like I get it, and I've had a lot of people say, man, when you're looking for sponsorships, like use that to your advantage. And I can't not use it. Like there may be a sponsor that goes, well, he's really neat because somebody's going to remember him instead of someone else. Like I
Mm,
can't change their mind on that, but I've always wanted to just be normal.
mm-hmm.
And that like I want to win a tournament because I earned it, not because whatever. I remember when we played basketball, like I was on artificial legs, but I didn't dribble well. I didn't do well. And like if I get the ball, and this was in high school or junior high, the other team would like just separate so I could shoot it. And I hated it. It was the worst thing ever. I
Sure,
didn't
sure.
earn it.
Yeah.
And they were literally doing what they thought was the best thing to do, you know, to include.
Yeah.
I hate it. I want to earn it, you know, and that's um, years ago. I was a camera boat for the Elite Series when they were at Dardanelle, and through I don't know if y'all know Steve Baughman, it's JM Associates that does so much with the
all the video
behind the
stuff.
scenes camera stuff.
Yep.
He had one of their writers do an article on me when I was a camera boat. They're like, the dude was in the boat with me with a camera. Then he just wrote an article. Like, I didn't know it was coming. So he was like, yeah, by the way, I'm writing an article about you in case you didn't know. But he said, the title of that article, it was like normal, nothing else, or something like that. It went in Boat US. And that's like, I always remember the title of that because that's all I've ever wanted to be. Like, I hate sticking out. Like, I know I stick out like a sore thumb because I'm 3 feet tall on the deck of the boat, you know, versus normal looking.
Right.
But I hate sticking out. Like, the last thing I want to do ever is stick out. I want to just, you know, be normal and you know, if I get a sponsorship, it's for my merits. If I get a win, it's for my merits, not for anything else.
Heck yeah. 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 I mean, novel idea, you know, meritocracy, like picking things based on merit. So you don't wear any prosthetic anything anymore?
No, I hated them really
I was gonna
bad.
say, I've heard a lot of people hate them.
Yeah. And I wasn't like, my theory was I wasn't very stable in them. So I couldn't climb in a 4-wheel drive truck. I couldn't straddle a 4-wheeler. I couldn't stand on the deck of a boat. And when you took those 3 things away from me, I mean, I'm just a redneck from Arkansas. I didn't have a whole lot else. My mom, you know, but mom and dad gave me till I was 13 or 14 to make my own decision. They made me wear them till then, you know, and then I got old enough. They're like, you can make this decision. I was like, no, I'm out. And then I actually, you know, you always think, oh, there's so much technology that develops so quickly. So when I married my wife, I actually went and got fitted to wear prosthetics again so I could dance with her at the wedding. And they were equally as terrible as they were before, but we danced.
Wow.
And I still got the legs with boots and jeans on them somewhere because as soon as we got done with reception, before we ever left for the honeymoon, I pulled the leg off, and I've never even contemplated putting them on since then.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Heck yeah.
Hunter, tell us about your family a little bit, dude. Your if you're okay with that. Some people are private about it, but tell us about your wife, kids. I love it.
My wife Andrea and I have been married 13, so 11 years. This will be 12 this coming October.
Awesome.
Got a 3-year-old Kinley little girl and a 2-year-old Casty little girl. They're 16 months apart or 17 months apart. So it is, I think probably heard them a minute ago. I've got my office door locked, but they were at the door. It is complete chaos around my house at times.
Absolutely. I love it.
Very, very fortunate. They get to travel with me on the road. That was
good.
one thing that before we had the kids, so we tried for 7 years to have kids, and then we had to like really quick. But before we had the kids, I traveled just like the first year of the NPFL. Well, I guess the first year is when Kinley was born. So we were in Florida, and my wife called me 5 minutes before takeoff, first day of tournament. She was like, yeah, they just admitted me. I'm going to have a baby. So I fished till like 10 o'clock, flew home. She had the baby the next morning. That night I got on a plane, flew back and fished the last day of the tournament, and then brought my stuff home. But from that point forward, she, you know, there's a lot goes into it, jobs and daycare, but we decided, if possible, we want her to stay home, you know, with the kids and raise them versus, you know, if we can do that. So from that point forward, they've actually traveled with me since the middle of 21. So, man, the girl was grown up on stage. I've got pictures of Kinley just holding her on stage like when she was a month old at the first tournament they went to. Now she runs around on stage and waves at everybody. And, you know, Cass the same way since she was a little baby. So yeah, man, they're very special to me. And I'm so glad they get to travel with me. I don't know that I'd continue to do it if they didn't.
Yeah, man, good for you,
that's
dude.
awesome.
That's really great.
So how'd you and the wife meet? How'd that go?
Online, actually. I really didn't go anywhere to meet anybody. my church group had like, I don't know, 10 people in the youth group, and there was one girl, I think. The rest of us were all dudes. Like, I don't, like, you know, on Friday and Saturday night, working on fishing or hunting stuff, and I was up early, like go out with my buddies, and so yeah, I really didn't have a lot of ways to meet people because I was too focused on the outdoors. But yeah, we met online, which was odd. It was real. It's not that odd now. It was really odd back then.
Yeah.
In 11, that wasn't as near as big a deal as it is now. But
Right.
yeah, it worked out, man. She made it through my, if this ain't gonna work out, we need to stop now. She made it through that speech about the hunting and fishing. And
she gets past that, yeah.
But no, she has completely supported me the whole way on it, and yeah, and she does so much. I mean, just from the everyday, it's a business. There's a lot that goes into it that's not catching fish, and she helps so much on that. And then when we're on the road, man, she juggles the 2 kids, and when I come off the water, when I come indoor every night of practice, there's dinner on the table waiting. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter how cold it is. They're there every weigh-in day to hop in the boat and ride through weigh-in with me. It's just life on the road for us.
Yeah. Sounds like you're living a great life, man.
No, for sure.
Yes,
That's awesome.
sure.
Yeah. Andrea sounds pretty amazing. So tell me one real small thing, if you're okay with it too. I'm getting into all your personal business, Hunter. After I messed up your last name, now I'm just going after you. You mentioned church stuff, and I know when you and I have been texting back and forth, you're on the elder board or the deacon board or whatever your church is. That something you grew up into, like your faith, or is that something you kind of acquired down the road, or what does that look like for you?
No, so I went to a Christian school from first grade till I graduated.
Oh, wow.
I was aware of everything, but my family didn't go to church much. The holiday, Easter, Christmas type deal. And when I was in 10th or 11th grade, there was an awesome group of dudes that I went to school with that drugged me to a fishing trip with a youth group. And from that point forward, I was hooked, and I started going to youth group. And sometime before I graduated, I started going, it was just youth group, hanging out, doing the cool stuff, then started going to church with them. Since then, my parents are in church elsewhere. They don't go to the same church we do. But, it's a lot's changed since back then. But it was really that late high school years is when I got into church big time. Man, I've just been, I love my church. I've moved kind of several miles up here since I started going there. It's an hour to church every week. When Andrea and I started dating, she had a church here locally that she was involved in, and we kind of traded back and forth churches and prayed about it. We got married. We just stayed down there where I've been since like 03, 04, man. Okay. And it's just a part of life now, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Let me ask you kind of a follow-up, I guess is the word I'm looking for, a follow-up question. When with your faith and your belief, when you're on the water or when you're in nature, when you're bow hunting, for me, that's like the number one where I really feel like I feel very sure that there is a God, whether you believe in him, follow him, whatever. But for me, it's like, there's no argument to be made when I'm sitting in the woods and a spike walks by that I have no intention of shooting, but just being so silent and watching, or even being on the water, whatever. Like, do you, as a man of faith and a man who's of nature, do you combine those two? Do you see those two run into each other?
I do in the woods for sure. Maybe occasionally there might be a sunrise or something that really hits me in the boat. Mm-hmm. But in the boat, it's so much of I'm here to do my job.
Sure.
That I really have to make myself step outside of that, But in the woods, I do, because that's my time to relax. Like when it's winter, I'm not going to fish. You're not going to see me at a boat ramp from October to January. You just about bet money on it. And like that's my time to kind of shut everything out. My social media, it stumbles during that time. I don't post as much. It just
sure.
That's my time. But that you see it so much there. And if I make myself step back and look when I'm in a boat, you see it. So I mean, it's amazing. Just everything like in outdoors is so amazing how it all clicks, and how he's created one animal that is opportunistic of another, and just I go on that forever. But there's just so much there that because of one there's another, and because of that there's another, and this is why this happens. and you see there's no way it couldn't be God. And you see some really cool stuff you see some cool stuff traveling to the tournaments, but it's so like, man, when tournaments start and even practice starts, to me, it doesn't matter what's going on at home. It doesn't matter what the bills look like. Like, you have to turn it off and just go fishing. Like, my only job is to support my family for a week, and to do that, it's get more bigger fish. I mean, and that's so I try, and it's awesome that I get to do that. And it kind of stinks because it turned a passion into a job. But I mean, everybody's got to have a job, so might as well have one you enjoy.
Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
What's that line like for you, Hunter? I mean, you said it. I've always wondered that, and I think it's different for everybody. But what's that line like for you, going from a passion to a job? Does it taint it a little bit? I'm not sure how to ask the question, but
no, man. As long as I get to take my winters off, no. I fished through one winter, and yes, because it's just something fell in my living room.
yeah,
true
dad life. Yeah.
With that break, I can be refreshed about it. I get really, really burned out. I get frustrated with the sponsorship side of things and how tough it is. But I love driving, so I love that part of it. Like, I absolutely love. I could drive for a living. Like, I love driving. So most part, it doesn't affect it too much. And I still fish like 50 to 60 tournaments a year here at home when I'm home. And if I didn't like love it, I wouldn't. I'd find something else to do while I'm home. But, I mean, I fish from say late February to early October. I'll 50 to 60 here.
That's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is getting after for sure.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, Nate, what do you think, man? Should we switch up a little bit with Mr. Baughman? Baughman.
Oh, Baughman.
Baughman. Why? What's wrong with me? I feel like I could pronounce like the craziest names, but that's just throwing my brain. I think it's because freaking Luke Duncan was talking about the NPFL roster, and I'm almost certain he said Baughman, and so my brain is just not translating over to Baughman. I'm sorry, but Nate, let's switch gears. What do you think? Should we talk to Mr. Baughman about tacos a little bit, or what?
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, are you a taco fan, Hunter? And what's the tacos like in Arkansas?
Man, I like street taco. If I'm going to eat a taco, street taco is the way to go.
Yes.
Little onion, cilantro, steak. Dip it in salsa.
Woo.
Dip the whole thing, huh? You don't put it on it. You dip the whole thing right in the salsa.
Oh yeah, dip the whole thing.
Yeah,
I like that. I like
love
that. Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. Do you make tacos out of like venison and stuff? Have you done that, Hunter?
We do. My wife does most of the cooking, but yeah, we do a lot of ground venison. We usually eat about 5 deer a year at the house.
Wow.
So most of what we cook is either or deer. We do cook beef a little bit. But most here is deer. Like my girls, they all love deer. So a lot of it.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
But I won't eat a fish taco. I think that's very gross.
Really? Whoa. Oh man.
Yeah, I've tried them. And I'm like, oh man, that's just not it.
Do you like fish and you like tacos? You just can't combine the two of them, or what? Or you don't like fish?
No, we can't. I mean, I eat tacos on the way home from fishing, but they just can't be fish tacos.
Okay, all right, I can respect that. Yeah. So, are you a Taco Bell guy? You like Taco Bell?
It's all right.
Yeah,
it's all right. It's not my first go. Yeah. So do y'all have? I know this isn't tacos, but do y'all have Chili's, like the Chili's where y'all are at?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I love their salsa. So I'll just go buy salsa from Chili's, and then we'll bring it home and we'll cook tacos. Or Andrew actually makes the Crunchwrap Supremes that Taco Bell has, but she'll do them with deer meat.
Yes.
Like I'll dip it in the chili salsa. Like I just keep a supply of chili salsa at the house to dip everything.
It's good, dude. It's good. Yeah, it's really. I'm not
Yeah.
mad at you for that. That chili salsa is super good. It's like I remember one time we've talked about this on the show quite a bit, Hunter, but like that whole thing when I don't know what it is about white people. White people always want to talk about Mexican food not being authentic. And I'm like, what do you know about authentic Mexican food? Like you grew up in like northern Indiana. Like get out of here. But like people will say like, oh, chili salsa isn't authentic. Who cares? It's freaking good, dude.
Yeah. I guarantee you it's good for sure. We eat
Yeah, no
Mexican,
doubt.
like it may not be tacos, but we eat Mexican probably 2 days a week at least around here.
Attaboy. Okay. Well,
Heck
what's your
yeah,
go-to then
that's
if it's not
awesome.
tacos? What do you like?
Man, like a chimichanga, I blank. A chimichanga, I don't know. I'll change it up. Quesadillas,
Yeah.
just a little bit of everything.
Dude, I swear chimichangas get slept on. Chimichangas
They
are
do.
so
They're pretty
freaking good.
underrated.
Yeah.
That deep fried with that sauce on
Yeah.
top, my goodness.
Oh yeah. And then occasionally
Yeah.
you gotta get a fajita, you know.
Oh, you ain't wrong. Yeah. I always laugh though. Every time I get a fajita and it's coming out just crackling and the waitress is like, careful, it's hot. I'm like, well, yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, no kidding. I can hear my fingers burning to the metal if I touched it right now. But yes, I understand that it's hot. Well, Hunter, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do have a few questions I want to follow up on. Are you okay time wise? I don't want anything else in your house to break while you're trying to talk
Good.
to
I
these
don't know if y'all
knuckleheads.
can. No, you're good, man. I don't know if y'all can hear World War III in the living room. As long as that's not affecting what y'all can hear, there's a lot of screaming going on.
Dude, yeah.
As long as
Me
that's
and my
not
wife
bothering y'all,
have
I'm good.
kids. Nate has kids. We totally understand, dude. Completely understand.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So the one question I want to ask, and I do want to get into like not like a full blown rapid fire, but I want to get like your knee jerk reaction on just like some of your favorites when it comes to fishing. But before we get to that, I was just going to ask you like, number one, this isn't a question, but ever since you said when I was a kid, I used to watch Bill Dance, I cannot get that dang Bill Dance. I'm going fishing with Bill Dance today. I cannot get it out of my head. Ever since it's just clicking through the back of my brain like crazy right now. But where do you want to go with this thing, Hunter? If you could just decide, chop, this is where I'm at in 20 years, what does that look like for you and your family?
Man, I've said for the last 10 years, if I can pay my bills, raise my family, and go fishing to do it, that's however that looks. But I don't want to be in the fishing world. I want to fish. Like there's a lot of jobs to stay in the fishing world. No, I want to catch fish. But I'm gonna do it. I want to be the one catching the fish.
So
But
if that's a fishing TV show or if it's winning tournaments or whatever that looks like, you just want to be on the water.
Yeah. Well, I guess I want to tournament fish. I guess I should say. There may come a time when I don't. But the competitive, that's where my heart's at. But family comes first, and if it ever comes to the point something's got to give, I mean, the fishing can go. I can always go back to that later. But my goal is to fish tournaments and raise my family. That's my goal, and give them the life they deserve. No, for sure. And I do like motivational speaking and stuff too, and that's a decent side gig too that helps a little bit because a poor tournament fisherman don't make a whole lot of money.
No doubt. Yeah, you got to have multiple streams of revenue. That's for sure. What's harder for you, man? Is it the on the water or like the off the water business stuff of being a pro fisherman?
Oh, definitely off the water. Hate it. Don't know if I'd have social media if it was for that. Like
wow.
I like being on social media and commenting stupid funny stuff on people just to bother them, like my buddies, but that's it. Like I would never post anything. You can look at my personal page. I sold reels the other day. It's the first time I posted in like a month and a half on my personal page.
Wow. It is like me and Nate were talking about that earlier. It's constant. Social media never stops. It's 25/8. It's like more than 24/7, and it's constantly shifting what gets plugged in and what doesn't, and hashtags, no hashtags, reels, vertical, horizontal. It's constantly shifting. It does kind of suck sometimes, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 7 days a week. If I could post, excuse me, 4 to 5 times a week on my fishing page, that'd be great. Like. But then you could go back, look at my personal page, and you could see we hold our own tournaments around here some. So it's either telling people there's a tournament, selling something, or something with my family. I mean, that's about the only time the personal page ever gets used.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like it. Yeah,
for sure.
who are your sponsors for NPFL this year? Anything new? Anything shifting? Anything changing for you?
Yeah, actually, quite a bit of new. Last year was like nothing new, and this year's like everything new. A lot of it
Okay.
new. I got to brag. There's a guy Diaz Scrap Metal Scrapyard here in town. He's been my title sponsor. I think this is year 3, and he's
Wow.
had my back to make sure this keep going. And really, really proud to call him a friend and a business
That's
partner.
awesome.
But yeah,
Yeah,
man,
cool.
switched to Bass Cat boats built right here in Arkansas.
Wow.
I ran a couple Bass Cat for like 11 years, and then the last 6 years in a different brand. But back in Bass Cats now. Switched over to Arc Rod and Reels.
Oh,
Was
snap.
already throwing all the baits. So that's a
Yeah.
new switch. We got several that have stuck with me for a long time. Rosalo Custom Lures from here in Central Arkansas, and gosh, I don't know, Pro Guide batteries, Mercury Marine. A bunch of them that have hung with me for sure, but a couple of those are new ones that proud to have them part of the team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good for you.
what? Yeah, that's awesome. What Bass Cat are you going to be running this year? What model is it?
The Era. I actually spent the
Air.
day with the guy at Beast Outdoors to help me rig my boat. They do all the rigging on it. I spent about 6 hours down there with them today trying to get it rigged up exactly like I wanted it. So backed it in the shop this evening about 4:00. I'm gonna go put all my stuff in it by the end of the week. I got a first term of the year, got a little open at the house here Saturday.
Heck yeah, man. Good for you. You because I saw you in what? Blazer, right? Weren't you in a Blazer for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Blazer for bought my first one in 19, and I've actually still got a 23 model sale. But yeah, I was in Blazer from 19 through 24, so 6 seasons.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, Bass Cats are killing it, man. I feel like Bass Cat has been
They
killing it for
are.
so long. So fishy and like specifically for fishermen. And like we've joked on here about sometimes like that one really weird deck layout where the middle box is all crooked, and but they're not all like that. You know, like I just feel like if you have an idea as a fisherman what you want, Bass Cat has a configuration for you. You know what I'm saying? Like they're really versatile and they're fast.
Yeah.
That's right, man. There was some unfortunate stuff with a dealer here locally. The reason I left to begin with, and it feels like I'm home. You know, I've had so many people reach out and message me because I work shows and stuff here locally for years with Cat. You know, before I switched, reached out and say welcome back, stuff like that. You know, and they're like we've talked about faith. They're they're a faith based company and got some strong faith individuals. I guess I don't know. Yeah, individuals who are strong in their faith, I guess, be the way I want to say that that lead that company, and it's just a really good fit. I'm glad to be back for sure.
Yeah, it's weird because
Heck
like
yeah.
you'll hear stuff about Bass Cat, and who's the owner? Rick Pierce, isn't that right? Rick Pierce is the owner of Bass Cat.
Rick sold it several years ago now. Correct Craft owns it, which is a
Oh, that's right.
large
That's right.
company.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot that they did
But
sell it
Rick's
off.
still there. I mean, Rick's still there calling shots and doing his thing.
Okay, yeah, so he's still in the company, but I've just seen so many times where like he gets interviewed and like this is like the top dog, and he treats it like he's just like another employee, which I've always thought was kind of a cool vibe from somebody from such a big boat company.
Man, and I'll tell you, Rick, I bought my first cat in 08. I was nobody, man. I was like 20, whatever, 20, 22. And man, the first time I met him at a show, introduced myself. And I've never seen that man since that day that he didn't walk up and say, "Hunter, how are you?" Rick Pierce will remember every man's name he ever meets. I'm pretty sure it's he's a good dude, man. Think a
I
lot of
love
Mr.
that.
Rick.
Yeah, I love that, dude. It's funny, like, so speaking of churches, you know, like it seems like nowadays all these little churches, you know, they want to be like a big church, but the big churches want to have a small church feel, you know, and I feel
That's
like
right.
there's something similar with that with like the outdoor industry, like boat companies, like Falcon Boats, it's the same way. Like you can call Falcon and talk to the daggum owner just on accident. You can contact
Yeah.
Bass Cat and be talking to Rick Pierce, and I think there's something so like I don't know how to describe it, like endearing, like it makes you like that company, even if you're not running them. Like it makes you like, I don't know
That's
anybody who
right.
says a bad
Like a
word
man.
about Bass Cat, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody has their preferences for sure, but you're right. I actually had a good friend of mine go to work for Falcon not that long ago as one of their sales reps. So yeah,
Okay.
same deal there, man.
Yeah.
He's like, dude,
I
they're some of the
got
best people around.
Yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah. I got one bad thing to say about Bass Cat, and that's I can't find a used one cheap enough to buy. So that's
That's valid. Yeah, that's
that's it.
valid.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They are
That
awesome
goes
boats.
for all the brands. I feel like.
man,
It does, but I don't know. Like I said, I got a Phoenix that I've run for this will be the fourth season now. But like when I was on the hunt for a new boat, like Bass Cat was at the top of the line, and you just can't find one that's cheap enough because it seems like they hold their value better than
they do
most boats out there. Like it's really wild. Like yeah, they're dope. We've been fans. Me and Jordan have talked about
for
them for
sure.
years and years and years. They're slick rigs.
Yeah, and they're doing it different, but they're not doing it different in the name of like, oh, this is different for the sake of being different. The triangular
Yeah,
wells and the daggum steering wheels are the freaking coolest steering wheels on a bass boat, like, and have been for the longest time. The little bass on the wheels, the deck layout, the trolling motor just about being off the front of the bow. It's so far forward. Like
Yeah,
they've been doing their own thing for so long, and it just works. Like I said, even if you're not a Bass Cat fan, you don't hear nobody be like, man, Bass Cats are crap. Nobody says that. Nobody.
no,
no, you don't hear that.
No. And I was seeing on bassboatsforsale.com or some Bass Boat Central something. Somebody had one of those new, what is it the Puma is like the big dog? Is that what the Bass Cat
Yeah,
is? With the
Puma's
500 on the back.
that's the I think the Jaguar is the one with the
Or
500 on
Jaguar,
the
yeah,
back.
the
Yeah,
Jaguar with
the
the
big boy.
500 on the back, and they're selling it used for like $140. And like, of course it's the internet, so somebody's got to be like, oh, 140, you must be crazy. And somebody else commented, it was like, well, that motor's 95, so it kind of makes sense when you. It's like, geez, dude, like that's so wild. And then of course you have all the dudes who are internet experts who are like, you can't fish any tournaments with a 500, and everybody else is like, you're a moron. Nobody's taking this boat out to go fish like a weekend $50 jackpot. Like, this is a 500. This is for somebody who's, who has the ability to fish a Lamborghini and wants to fish a Lamborghini. They're not, I don't know. It's funny. Everybody's got something to say, but
Yeah,
I think they're dope. And then like the one that Milliken was fishing last year, the STS, where it has like half sea deck, half carpet. Golly, that's so
yeah.
slick, dude. That's a bad looking Mamma Jamma.
There's so many options. There's 4 20-footers, three 20-footers. I mean, there's just so many options that they offer. There's a lot. I just want to drive the one with a 500 one time. That's what I want to
No
do. I
kidding,
don't need it,
right?
but I'd like to drive it once.
Yeah, dude.
yeah.
I want to feel how that feels just to get up on pad on a 500, to hear it. I bet you when I
That's what
started,
I
I'd
was
probably
thinking.
pass out or something. I mean,
Yeah,
Jeep.
I
And
just
even,
I want to hear it roar back there. That's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, jeez.
let her eat, dude. Trim it up and let her go. Who I think it was Rick Pierce. Who did he take out? G-Man or somebody? And I mean, I know G-Man is Phoenix, but he took out somebody. I feel like it was G-Man in that sucker, and was like, go ahead, trim it up, let it eat. And G-Man was like, I've been in a lot of 70-mile-an-hour boats. I've never been in a 90-mile-an-hour boat, and that was the one time or something, like in his very G-Man way of saying it. And he was just like, it's insane. Well, it's so huge too that even at 90, it's not rocking back and forth and walking. And yeah, I mean, that's
Right.
crazy. That's crazy. All right, well, let's hit you with a few. Also, another thing I want to talk about is the NPFL, dude. I have so much respect for Brad Fuller and that whole league, man. I just think he's just very much like a maverick, a rogue, like following the compass that he thinks should be followed. And like, if everybody else jumps in, cool. If they don't, cool. So yeah, so much respect to you for fishing that league, man.
Yeah, man, it's really been a place for it's a family to us, man. Just all
Sure.
the people that work for them and the ownership, they're like extended family we see on the road, and it's a special place. They've got a lot of hate, especially when they're just starting the first couple of years. That whatever people, there's a lot of things, and I've told them, like I've had that conversation with Brad. Like, do I agree with everything that's been done? No, but I agree with enough of it that I support them. Like we don't have to agree on everything.
Oh,
Sure. Yeah.
It's not my company to run, so I can choose to fish or leave. But man, they some of the greatest people you ever meet run it, and they make some really cool decisions. And I think you'll just see it get bigger in the next few years.
It seems like
Heck
it.
yeah,
I mean, it seems
I
like
agree.
they came out early on the whole no live poking and all that. They were early on that thing, and then even the way they handled a couple pros who signed up and then couldn't fish it, and it just seems like they're transparent with what they're doing. They're, um, putting thought into it, but not overthinking it, not running and chasing their tail in circles. And I don't know. I got nothing but respect for that. And I'll be honest, I was one of those dudes, like I wasn't like, oh, these guys are idiots. I wasn't hating, but I was just like, do we need another league? Like in that 2020 time-ish or whatever, when the NPFL dropped. And now, like, I think if I had my druthers, I love watching NPFL. The live streams are dope. You have Luke Duncan, who's hilarious and a great commentator. The streaming is always really solid. The anglers are super diverse. You got these dudes from like, top level, like Patrick Walters type cats oh, my brain's turning off. What's homeboy who won Angler of the Year 2 years ago on BASS?
Wilker.
Oh yeah, Kyle Welcher. Yeah.
Welcher, yeah, thank you, Kyle Welcher.
Yeah.
And then you also have these guys that a lot of people haven't heard of, and they're all scrappy back and forth, neck and neck, and I just think that mix is so freaking fun to watch.
Yeah, man. Funny story, and I don't know if I've ever said this like on anything like this, but I signed up, right, and I was probably one of the first ones to sign up for the NPFL. I signed up mid 2020, so I had a long time, till we started. I remember, of course, every time there was an update or a podcast, I wanted to watch it because we didn't even know what was going on. And I remember them announcing Fat Cat as going to be a commentator. Never heard of this dude before. I'm like, who is that? I start watching his stuff. I'm like, these guys are a joke. Why would they hire this dude? Dude, Fat Cat's my buddy now. Like I don't see him very often, but I love getting to see Fat Cat. But I'll never forget. I had never seen any of his stuff, and of course he's over the top. Y'all know that. But the first thing I click on Fat Cat, he's got a shirt that doesn't even go over his belly, and I don't know, he's doing his nose joke or whatever. I'm like, this is one of our people. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, that's also cool though, right? Like there's a fine line to me in business, in family, in your faith, even fishing. There's a fine line of like doing something well, but not taking yourself too serious. And I think where those two things confluence is the sweet spot for anything. You know what I mean?
That's right. And it shows you Brad's vision to see, because Fat Cat has come so far since he started with us, like to see the value in him when he was making those goofy videos. But I mean, just it's something that's just one of the things you can see, like the decisions they've made that people laughed at them so much for, myself included. That was a really good one down the road,
Yep, definitely. Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's jump into these little like quick hitters and then we'll get you out of here, man. But from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the fire out of you, man. Thank you for doing our little podcast. We really appreciate you, Hunter.
Man, I've had a blast. I'm glad we got to do it.
Heck yeah, dude. So we'll do this thing that we kind of call like one of your favorites, because it's impossible really to say like what is your favorite. But we'll just say one of your favorites, and then we'll throw in like a random something, and then you just tell us one of the first thing that comes to mind. All right. So I'll go first. But what is one of your favorite let's say crankbaits?
Black and blue square bill. Not really a particular brand, but that color is one of my favorite crankbaits.
Heck yeah, love it.
Heck yeah, one of your favorite jigs? You a big jig guy?
Yeah, man, I am for sure. A 5/16. This has been mine through 4 different companies, and a 5/16 green pumpkin finesse jig has been my deal for 20 years.
Wow. And so, so now that you said that, now my brain's ticking in that direction for a second. Really quick, what's your setup on that rod, reel, line? What do you like to throw it on?
So 7.3, roughly 7.2 to 7.4, but 7.3 medium heavy, 17-pound test, 8 ratio reel.
Okay, like a quick reel.
Basically anything I'm dragging on, something quick. But the rod, that's such a light. Like I put a speed crawl in there, and it's such a light little jig. A heavy rod, a lot of times you move that jig too much for it to do what it needs to do with a heavy rod.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I know exactly what you mean. Yep, absolutely. What's one of your favorite movies?
Open Range. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay.
If you had to choose, is it ducks or bucks? Who you going after?
Ooh, that's close, but it's bucks.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah.
the Lord says unto you, Hunter, you can make money no matter which one you pick, but you have to pick fishing or hunting.
Probably fishing. I'm probably better
Okay.
at fishing than I am hunting. I just like
Okay.
hunting.
Yeah, for sure. I know that feeling. Yeah. There's something about hunting. Like I want to be better at it, but I am naturally better at fishing too. So yeah, I
Yeah,
totally
well,
get it.
I've always said if I could hunt all year, I'd sell my bass boat. But really, if it came down to it, I'm probably a little bit better at the fishing.
Yeah. Right on.
I know I'm terrible at hunting. I feel like I don't know
I,
what
I
it is. I feel like every time I'm in the tree, I do something that's like, man, that was stupid. That
Stupid.
was
Yeah.
bad. That was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
dumb. That was,
Yeah. I know that feeling.
it's such a hardcore thing. Like 2 months of
it
hunting, I'm like,
is.
golly, I'm glad it's over.
For real. Yeah. You look forward to it and then it's like, all right, season's over. Golly, I suck at this. Yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so what's one of your favorite boat snacks? Go to
Okay.
snack on the boat.
That's a good one.
mm. Munchies, nacho cheese crackers.
Dude, that's such a good one. That's a really good one
That
for
is.
sure. Yeah. I was
Those are
actually
hard to
just about to
beat.
ask something really similar. What's one of your favorite drinks on the water? Or are you just like a straight water guy?
No, I can't handle water, just straight water when it's hot, especially. I
Okay.
have to have flavors. I do Propel. I used to do Gatorades a lot. I
Oh,
do like the 0 calorie Propel, so I'm not drinking Gatorade all the time.
okay. Yeah. What's your favorite flavor?
Strawberry kiwi, I think. It's the green. I think
Okay.
strawberry kiwi.
Okay. Fancy. Okay.
Oh yeah,
He said, oh, yeah.
man. Hey, I can take some Propel, strawberry kiwi Propel, and some Munchie crackers. I'm good for a week.
Just happy. Just happy.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love
yeah.
it. Heck
Heck
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Couple more and we'll get
So
you out of here.
if you got to choose one, chatterbait or spinnerbait.
Mm.
Chatterbait.
If you could, one of your favorites, let's say that, like, again, God says to you, hey, however you want to fish this next tournament, you're going to catch them. Any, like, your favorite way to get after them, what would you pick?
A frog.
Really? That's your number one. That's your favorite.
Yeah. Be real close with the little jig. Man, I'm an Arkansas River guys where I grew up. Love throwing a frog around.
Yeah. Do you have just like a plethora of frogs? Are you like a frog connoisseur? Or do you keep it simple as far as like the frogs you throw?
Man, I keep it real simple. It's not a sponsor bait, but a Booyah Pad Crasher to me is
Okay.
the best. It's soft. I feel like you can get the hook set a little better than
Man,
those. I don't
I've
have
heard a
like just
ton
this.
of guys talk about the softness, the
Mm-hmm.
pliability of those
Yeah,
pad crashers.
and
Yep.
you'll lose them because you'll skip it like so far back in behind something, and it's soft, so it'll get hung, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll lose them a lot more than you would some other brands. But I don't have like a gorilla hook set. Like I need something with a little big, a pretty soft body, just
Sure.
because I don't hit them that hard. I feel like, like Spro Frog, and not knocking Spro at all, but it was the thing for so long, like with Real Hoss. But I personally, I just don't get the hook up, and I've bent the hooks out like you're supposed to, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't get the
Yep.
hook up with like a Spro Frog that do the booyahs.
Well, yeah, like you said earlier, confidence. I mean, if it's something that you feel confident you like you got to throw it. Does color matter, Hunter, with a frog?
Darker light. That's the only color you really need to know. Do you want white or do you want black?
That's what I think too, man. Because I love the Spro Killer Gill color, but I feel like it's just mostly in my head. The bottom is basically black, but I mean, in my head, I think it's exactly that. It's all psychological.
I'm sure there's people that argue, on that, but I just,
Yeah,
man, it's like, do you want the dark or black? Dark or light. I don't really know. They don't.
Yeah.
They can't see a whole lot of it.
right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, one more from each of us, Nate. Then we'll let Hunter get out of here. If you got one more, what's one of your favorites?
All right. Yep. What's your favorite technique with a spinning rod?
Drop shot probably.
Mm.
I'm still really learning on the Menadil, and I've got a lot better than last year. But I like throwing drop shot, but like with a 1/2 ounce weight. I like throwing a drop shot around on scope. Pretty heavy, getting down there and like in schools of fish.
Yeah, that is super fun. All right, last one. What's one of your favorite things to do? You got a day off, nothing on the calendar. You, wifey, the two girls. What do you like to do?
Man, go to church and come back, hang out. Like that's to me when there's so much goes on that when there's not, man, sit in the recliner, girls go down for a nap, maybe I take a nap, and then they get
Yeah,
up
man.
and get in the floor and play with them and
Yeah.
just chill.
Heck yeah. Yeah. That sounds like
Yeah.
an awesome day to me, brother.
Hard to beat
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that is hard to beat. So, Hunter, again, seriously, man, thank you so much for jumping on, dude. Nothing but respect for you, and real talk, for sure. At least in Wisconsin and Nate's in Iowa, you got some people rooting for you this year in the NPFL, and thank you, brother.
Man, thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it. You come to Arkansas, we'll go catch some Arkansas 2-pounders. That's about as big as they get around here, it seems like.
That sounds fun to me, man. If we come through, we'll hit you up for sure. But yeah, thanks for jumping on, brother.
I appreciate y'all so much.
All right, man. We'll bug you later. Thanks, man. All right, bye-bye.
Peace.
All right, so that was Hunter Baughman. I don't why couldn't I get the name right, Nate? What's wrong with me?
You got it right there. So that's
I'm usually better than that.
Yeah.
I'm usually better than that with names.
You are, yeah.
I feel like an idiot, but man, what a cool cat, dude. Like he was awesome. To me like this perfect balance of like not sidestepping, the disability, he wasn't born with no legs or no fingers or whatever, you know what I mean? But basically, like when you're 9 months old, so he wasn't like sidestepping the disability that he was essentially somewhat, however you want to word it, born with, or, at a very young age, but he also wasn't hiding behind it. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like focusing on it like I'm a disabled fisherman, but he also wasn't using it as like an excuse. And I just thought he had such a good balance with it. I think so many people would use that as like like, could you even call that an excuse? Like if you rolled over and we're just like, I can't fish. You know what I'm saying? With something like that, is that even labeled an excuse still? But he's like, F it. And he just goes for it. Like, man.
Yeah. He's an absolute stud. Amazing dude. Awesome story. I'm so stoked we got to cut it up with him. That was fun. That was really cool. And like you said, strong man of his faith, his beliefs, and his family. Can't ask for much more than that.
I mean, I feel like that's a good way to sum it up. That's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
Family, faith, fishing, being true to who he is as a human, not making excuses for it. I think his story about his first dance with his wife, which I'm almost glad, I'm not actually, but I'm almost glad Lola wasn't out here because she'd probably be crying on that one.
Right.
But the fact that homeboy strapped up the legs and then that was it. Like, he wanted to be able to have his first dance with his wife, and then that was it, and he doesn't mess with them anymore. Really, I don't know. There's not really a lot about that dude that I don't like.
No, I can't think of a single one. And maybe hopefully down the road he'll have a bass cat cheap enough for me to buy one day.
I was actually thinking that when you said the only thing I got against them, and I was like, oh, it's got to be something price based, because you're right, they're like Toyotas, like they just hold their value for freaking ever.
They do.
I mean, good Lord, I don't know if you remember, I had that Toyota Tundra. It was a 07, and when I finally sold it, it had 249,000 miles on it. And like. Mm-hmm. There are still people offering me like $7,000 for it or whatever. Like, it's crazy, dude. If that was a Ford, I would have gotten $15 for it, whatever.
No doubt. Yeah.
No, just a Ford, but it's wild. But bass cats are like that. But anyway, I was thinking when you said that, I'm like, well, maybe this time next year you hit up Hunter and be like, hey, can I get your last year's bass cat? Which it's still probably like a Toyota. That's still gonna be $100,000. You know what I'm saying? But man, they're so bad to the bone, dude. I've liked bass cats forever. The first time I ever saw one, like really, really like got in one, looked around, sat in the seat, felt the compartments, looked at the layout, was at the old Quad City Outdoor Expo. Shout out to Quad City Outdoor Expo. And is that Rock Island or Moline? That's Rock Island, right?
Rock Island, yeah. Which Rock actually Island. It's right around the corner. It's on its way.
Yeah, it's usually like February, right?
Yeah, if you're bored mid-February, like Valentine's weekend, you can come around, walk around.
Is it this
for a
weekend?
Minutes. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know when we'll drop this episode, but shout out to all the romantic folk out there going to the Quad City Outdoor Show on February 14th.
Yep, exactly.
But I remember I sat in one and I was just like, dude, like coming up, I hadn't spent a lot of time in bass boats, but I've definitely been in them.
Yeah.
You know, it's mostly like Lunds and old Alumacrafts, you know, like up in northern Wisconsin and whatever. But when I got in a Bass Cat, it was a different feeling for a bass boat. It felt very like, oh, this is here at arm's length from this because it makes sense. So I don't have to whatever. And then even like if anybody hasn't seen them before, if you look up Bass Cats, their live wells aren't big square openings, they're triangles. And that doesn't look like the opening's very big, but they're way bigger than the actual triangle, and they're super deep, like really, really
Yeah.
deep. So a
Yeah.
lot of water, and then a lot of oxygen goes in those things. And like, I don't know. I remember the first time I saw one, I was like, dude, this thing is really like not just cool, but it's like intelligent. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. They say the opening a little bit smaller, fish can't jump out as easy when you're opening the lid to, put the fish in. So,
Yep.
super cool, thought out little idea. I distinctly remember my first Bass Cat boat experience.
Okay.
I was fishing an open as a co-angler in 2013, down on the Red River in it was the Red River in Shreveport, Bossier
In
City, Louisiana.
Louisiana. Yeah.
Louisiana, down there, Louisiana.
Down
And
that, we go down to the water.
exactly, yeah. Day two, I drew I drew Billy McCagran, and he had
heck yeah.
he had a cougar, Bass
Okay.
Cat cougar, and it's all decked out and awesome, just everything, back in as dope as it could get in 2013. Like
Yep.
it was legit. And he's like, so can you back down a boat? Sure. At this point, I
At
had
that
had
point, you
my
probably weren't that confident with it, were you?
no, I
I mean, you've
had
done
had
it, but
my
not like,
yeah. And I
yeah.
had a 15-foot Jason bass boat that I backed down with my, a $2,000
single
boat that I
axle
backed down.
trailer. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, he's like, yeah, go ahead and back it down. It's a 6-lane boat lane. Everybody's flying in and out. It was crazy, absolutely hectic. And I backed it
I'd have been
down.
so nervous.
I was shaking like a leaf. I backed it down straight as an arrow the first try. Didn't have to pull up and straighten
Heck
out. It
yeah.
was absolutely amazing. I'm like, I did it. I went and
It's a
parked it,
miracle.
threw him his keys, exactly. And then we get in the boat, take off down the river at 80 miles an hour.
And
The
like Bass Cats being
it
fast
was
is like not even a secret. Everybody knows they're fast.
no,
They're super
yeah,
fast holes.
it was absolutely crazy. Never been in a boat that fast before, or anything really remotely close. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
55, 60. It had probably been the fastest I'd been in a boat. And it was incredible.
Yeah.
And Billy McCagran, shout out to him. He was an awesome
What happened
dude.
to that
Put me
dude?
on some fish. I think he's still fishing a little bit, but yeah,
Okay.
he's kind of gone back to the family deal a little bit.
Oh,
I
that's
want to
cool.
say, but man, yeah, just an awesome dude. Gave me a great experience,
Heck
and
yeah.
it was fun. And
Yeah.
that was my first experience in the Bass Cat.
Yeah. We should honestly, like, maybe this is like past our pay, but we should talk to Hunter, see if we could get a hold of old Ricky Pierce, have him on. I feel like that'd be so fun.
Heck yeah, that'd be awesome.
It just seems like they're the type of dudes that are like, kind of like when we had Andy and the whole crew from Team Marine and Lacrosse on, how they were saying
Yeah.
like the people at Suzuki will ask Team Marine for input on their outboards. And this is Suzuki, like a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And they're asking this little, they're not really, but, for intents and purposes, asking this little podunk shop in Podunk, Wisconsin about the performance of their outboards. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And that's kind of how Bass Cat is. Like if you look at the improvements and the changes and the layouts and the whatever of Bass Cats over the years, it's very angler centric. It's not like, well, in 23, we had a green boat, and this year we've got a blue boat. Like, it's like real specific on layout, rod locker size, depth of the seal, like when you open up the compartments, or even like on some of those newer Bass Cats. And is Bass Cat the only company that does it? That really dope, like rectangular lid latch thing instead of like the circular one? Are they the
Oh
only
yeah,
company rocking that?
I think they are. Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that's what Pipkins has on his new rig, is those really dope, like wide square ones where you just push to one side and it pops open. Or even like if you look again, I keep talking about it, but the triangular live wells, they don't latch down like normal. Like they latch down like a hard like buckle closer. Clunk. I mean, those things are like, like if you were locking up like a big metal case with like a rifle in it, like a really hard like buckle closure type deal. And yeah, that'd be kind of rad to have old Rick Pierce on.
Right. Old timey Bass Cat stories with Rick Pierce.
That'd be sick. It'd be so cool. Yeah, we should try that. But anyway, make sure you check out Hunter Baughman. He has a website. It's Hunter Fishes, which is actually kind of a clever domain. HunterFishes.com. Otherwise, on social media, it's which is funny saying social media after he's like, I don't really be on my social media. But it's at Hunter_Baughman, and Baughman is BAUGHMAN. Hunter_Baughman_fishing is how you find that fella. Inspirational, honest, stick of a fisherman, cool dude. And I'm just pumped to have him on the show.
Heck yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's it.
Peace. Positivity's worth the effort. We out of here.
Yep. Catch you on the next one. Bye.